You wait 9 months to meet your baby, you prepare, you read, you organize, you imagine sweet cuddles and peaceful naps. And then you're home. You're exhausted. The baby won't sleep unless they're on you. They want to eat constantly. Day and night doesn't exist. You're Googling things at 3 a.m. wondering if something is wrong. Hi, I'm Dr. Mona, pediatrician and mom, and today I'm walking you through what you can realistically expect in baby's first month. Sleep, feeding, weight, development, the weird newborn stuff, and I'm also checking in on you because your adjustment matters just as much as babies. This isn't a performance checklist. It's a normalization guide. And yes, it's true, I have answers to your questions. Let's get into it. Newborns can sleep anywhere from 14 to 18 hours in a 24-hour period. Yes, it's a huge range because babies are different, but it's scattered. Sleep comes in short stretches, often 1 to 3 hours at a time, sometimes less. And there's no circadian rhythm yet. That internal clock that helps us know day from night simply is not developed. That usually starts organizing closer to 6 to 8 weeks, and even then it's gradual. So if your baby is wide awake at 2 a.m. and deeply asleep at 10 a.m., that's biology, not a mistake you made. Day-night confusion is common in the first month. You may also notice something after the first 2 weeks. Many newborns have what I call a honeymoon period. They sleep a lot, they seem pretty chill, feed, diaper, back to sleep, can sleep anywhere. Many parents are like, I don't know why people say having a baby is so hard. And then around week 2 or 3, they wake up. Your baby who could sleep anywhere is now struggling to settle. They're more alert, they cry more, they want more holding. That is normal neurological development, not something you broke, not a sign that you're suddenly doing it wrong. Around 4 to 8 weeks is also when parents start hearing the word colic. Crying often peaks during this window, especially in the evenings. But sometimes what looks like colic is actually an overtired baby. In the first month, wake windows are short. A wake window is the amount of time your baby is awake from the time they wake up from one nap or sleep to the time they go down for another rest. For most newborns, that is often about 45 to 60 minutes, sometimes even less. And again, that window starts from the moment that they wake up to the time that they go to sleep. If babies stay awake too long, it becomes harder for them to settle. They may look wired, fussy, or suddenly wide awake. Then we think, why won't they just sleep when really their body is just overloaded, which makes it harder to settle. If your baby seems especially fussy around that 4-week mark to 8-week mark, look at how long they've been awake between sleep. A slightly shorter wake window can make all the difference. And this isn't about being obsessive with the clock. It's noticing their sleepy cues around that time. And just like sleep patterns, this phase peaks and improves. Crying often increases until about 6 to 8 weeks, then gradually gets better. Contact sleep is also normal. Your baby just spent 9 months in a warm, rhythmic, constantly held environment. Of course they'll prefer your chest to a flat surface. Doing some contact naps during the day can be really helpful. And remember, you should be awake as well, not be falling asleep on a couch for the safest nap possible. Newborn sleep is also noisy. They grunt, wiggle, make faces, even let out little cries while still asleep. That's called active sleep. It's completely normal. If their eyes are closed and they're not fully awake, give them a moment before picking them up. Sometimes they settle on their own. And let me say this clearly, you cannot create bad habits in a newborn. I say that as a pediatrician and as a mom who absolutely sat there holding a sleeping baby for entire naps because that's the only way it worked. You are responding to what your baby needs. And remember, in this postpartum period, schedules do not really work yet. Loose patterns are fine. Rigid expectations usually just lead to frustration for everyone. And if you want a deeper dive into what's normal in newborn sleep, including how to gently support longer stretches without pressure or strict schedules, I have a full newborn sleep workshop that walks you through step by step. I'll link it in the caption so you can check it out when you're not running on fumes. And if this is already helping you breathe a little easier at 2 a.m., make sure you subscribe because we're building your parenting playbook one conversation at a time. Just like how the honeymoon period applies to sleep, it can also apply to feeding. They're feeding on a semi-routine and then boom, around week 2 to 3, cluster feeding begins. Cluster feeding means very frequent feeds, sometimes every 45 minutes to an hour, especially in the evenings. And here's some info for breastfeeding parents. Feeding every 2 to 3 hours, sometimes even more often, is completely normal. And remember that the time of the feed is measured from the start of one feed to the start of the next. Comfort nursing is normal, short feeds are normal, long feeds are normal. What's really important if you're breastfeeding is you're watching how that milk is being transferred. If they're relaxed after feeds and they're feeding a lot, you may be in cluster feeding territory. But if they're not relaxed after feed, you're constantly feeling like they're on your breast, you might want to speak to a lactation consultant to make sure that the baby's actually getting milk. And here's a misconception I often hear. A baby wanting to nurse frequently does not automatically mean you have a low supply. In the early weeks especially, frequent feeding is how supply gets built. For formula feeding parents, you'll notice some feeds may start off bigger or smaller, but as your baby grows, you're going to see a similar amount with every feeding. And that's because the composition of the formula doesn't change like the composition of breast milk. In breastfed babies, sometimes if you're expressing breast milk via a pump, they may have 1 ounce, 2 ounce because your breast milk is changing. But with formula, your 3-week-old may be on 2 ounces and may stay there. And when they go through a growth spurt, they may add on a couple more ounces. So it's very common that you're going to see the same amount. But formula-fed babies can also cluster feed too. So remember to grab my handout on hunger and sleepy cues, which will really help you differentiate if your baby's actually hungry. Hunger cues can look like rooting, sucking on hands, lip smacking, or turning towards your chest. Crying is usually a later cue, and not all crying is hunger. And around 2 to 3 weeks, and again around 4 to 6 weeks, growth spurts are common. That's when it can suddenly feel like your baby is eating nonstop. That's not your body failing, that's development doing its thing. If you're breastfeeding, watch transfer. If you're formula feeding, watch how they feed at the bottle. And diapers can be a sign of reassurance. Diapers are one of the best reassurances in the first month. Adequate wet diapers can look like at least 4 wet diapers a day, and stooling patterns are strong indicators that feeding is going well. Also, those regular visits to your pediatrician can help track weight gain. And remember, we are looking at trends, not exact numbers or where they are on the percentile curve. If you like having evidence-based and experience-based reassurance instead of late-night online searching, hit subscribe. Think of it as adding a pediatrician to your YouTube feed minus the waiting room. When it comes to weight, it's completely normal for newborns to lose some weight after birth. Up to about 7 to 10% in those first few days can be expected. That's part of the transition from life inside the womb to life outside. Most babies regain their birth weight by around 10 to 14 days, with some normal variation. At pediatric visits, we're not staring at one number and making dramatic conclusions. We're looking at the whole picture. Is weight trending in the right direction? Are they feeding well? Is there jaundice, that yellow tint to the skin or eyes? Is feeding actually working for this baby and the family? Do you feel like they're transferring milk? It's about patterns. And if supplementation comes up in conversation, that is not failure, it's a tool. Sometimes we use tools temporarily, sometimes longer. But the goal is always a thriving baby and a supported parent. And if weight percentiles ever stress you out, especially when you start hearing numbers thrown around, I have a full video breaking down what percentiles actually mean, what they don't mean, and why trends matter more than a single point on the chart. I'll link that in the caption below so you can dive deeper if that's an area that you want to learn more about. Development in the first month has subtle milestones. You're going to see reflexes. That head turn when you brush their cheek, that's the rooting reflex. Those big startled arm flings like they're skydiving in their sleep, that's the Moro reflex. And that surprisingly strong grip when they wrap their hand around your finger, melts my heart. Completely normal. Their vision is still pretty blurry. They see best about 8 to 12 inches away, which just happens to be the exact distance from your beautiful face when you're holding them. That's not random. That's biology supporting connection. And they noticed a lot of contrast. That's why you'll see newborns stare at a fan, because the dark fan against the white ceiling is very intriguing to them. You might get brief moments of eye contact, little pauses where it feels like they're really studying you. True social smiles usually show up closer to 6 to 8 weeks. So if you're waiting for that first real smile, hang in there, it's coming. A lot of parents ask, how do I play with my newborn in the first month? And here's the truth. In the beginning, connection, social and emotional bond is the play. Learn their hunger cues. Notice their sleepy cues, hold them, let them nap on you, make eye contact during diaper changes, talk to them while you're feeding. If they coo, coo back. If they look at your face, pause and let them study you. You don't need fancy things. The only toys I would recommend, and I actually have a handout for this, would be baby rattles so that as they start to develop tracking practice, they can practice with that. And black and white images and cards can help them focus on things that they can use with their eyes. And yes, tummy time is part of play. You can start right away, but think small, 1 to 2 minutes at a time, a few times a day, and chest to chest counts Let them lay on you, but remember, you should not be falling asleep. If your baby is on your chest while you're awake and they're lifting their head, that's tummy time. You can also use a rolled up towel under their chest for a little support on the floor. It does not need to be long. It does not need to be perfect. In the first month, short and simple is exactly right. Now let's talk about the stuff that makes you immediately go online and leads you down a rabbit hole. Peeling skin that makes them look like a tiny lizard. Baby acne that shows up right when you want newborn photos. Breathing that's fast, then pauses, then starts again. Noisy sleep, grunting, hiccups after what feels like every feed. Stuffy little noses that sound dramatic but they're not actually sick. Their nasal passages are tiny, so even normal mucus sounds dramatic. If they're feeding well and breathing comfortably, that congestion sound alone is usually not illness. And I have a whole video on the weird things that newborns do that will educate you so much. Remember, newborns are adjusting to so much. Air, milk, light, digestion, temperature, gravity, it's a lot. And most of this is all just completely normal as they learn about the world. If skin changes in particular stress you out, I actually have a full video breaking down common newborn rashes, what's normal, what looks scary but isn't, and when to actually call your doctor. I'll link that in the caption below so you can have it saved instead of panic searching at midnight. Of course, if your newborn has a fever, seems unusually hard to wake, isn't feeding well, or you see real signs of breathing distress, that's when we call your pediatrician. But in general, newborns are loud, blotchy, squeaky little humans. And weird does not necessarily mean unhealthy. Let's talk about you for a minute, because the sleep deprivation postpartum is no joke. When you're waking up every 2 to 3 hours, sometimes more, of course your mood is going to feel off. Of course your patience feels thinner. Of course your anxiety feels louder. A lot of parents experience the baby blues in those first couple of weeks, feeling weepy out of nowhere, extra sensitive, overwhelmed in a way that surprises you. But if you're feeling persistently sad, hopeless, constantly on edge, having intrusive thoughts, or just not feeling like yourself, that's not something you push through. That's something that we need you to get help for. Postpartum depression and anxiety are common. They are medical and they're treatable. And this can really help. In the first month and those postpartum months, lower the bar for everything except safety and connection with your baby. Let the house be messy. Say yes to help. Hand the baby to someone you trust and close your eyes to take a nap. You matter in this story too. Bottom line, the first month isn't something you're going to nail. It's something you move through. It's a process. This is why we're humans. It's supposed to be tough. It's evolutionary so that we bond more with our baby. Some days will feel sweet. Some days will feel like a blur of feeding, burping, and wondering what time it is. If it feels messy, loud, emotional, or harder than you expected, that doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. It means you have a newborn. But if something is feeling off to you, talk to a loved one. We don't want your mental health to suffer because you're just brushing this off as normal. Keep your focus simple. Is baby safe? Are they feeding? Are you both getting moments of connection when you can? That's enough postpartum. And if you want steady, realistic guidance as you move through each stage, subscribe and stay with me here. I'll keep walking you through what's normal so you can feel more confident and less alone. And I'd love to hear from you. What surprised you most about the first month or postpartum? Tell me in the comments and tell me what other videos or education you want from me. I'll see you all next time. Subscribe to the channel, hit that thumbs up sign. That's how the show continues to grow. And I cannot wait to chat with you all next time.